about your big men, brave and strong. Talk about 'em long and tall. Never was a big man could stand beside old Paul.
Nobody knows just where Paul Bunyan was born, but most of the old loggers claim that he came down from Canada not long after the winter of the blue snow. He brought with him Babe, his big blue ox, and began to clear the forests of Washington, and that's how the timber industry was born.
Paul Bunyan was a big man, biggest of them all. They never made him big enough to stand beside old Paul.
Paul was surely the biggest man in history. Reports vary as to his exact size, but it's said that when he stood beside the average-sized pine tree, the tip of the tree would just graze the top of his boot.
Talk about your big men, brave and strong. Talk about 'em long and tall. Never was a big man could stand beside old Paul.
Paul was the man who built Pikes Peak and dug out Puget Sound. Paul would think nothing of building a box to trap a blizzard or harnessing Babe to a glacier to get it down to the logging country where he could use it to level off a mountain.
Hey, Paul, you mighty logger, you raise a dust storm when you holler. Comb your beard with a fresh young pine tree. You and Babe make logging history. Hey, Paul, you mighty logger. Hey, Paul, you mighty man.
Paul did a lot of tall talking. He'd talk for 65 days and nights without stopping. And Paul invented arithmetic and algebra and cube root and all those things. Because, you know, there's a lot of figuring in the logging business. And of course, then he had to invent things like grindstones and double-bitted axes and sawmills to carry on his affairs. In fact, in a whole lot of ways, you might say that old Paul invented America.
Talk about your big men, brave and strong. Talk about 'em long and tall. Never was a big man could stand beside old Paul.
Babe, the big blue ox, was born in the winter of the blue snow. It snowed as blue as the sky that year, and Babe was just as blue as the snow. When Paul found him, he wasn't big enough to fill Paul's vest pocket, but Paul fed him and played with him until he became the greatest ox in history.
Yes, Babe was a big ox, biggest of 'em all. Only Babe was big enough to stand beside old Paul.
Babe measured 62 axe handles and a plug of chewing tobacco between his horns. He could outrun a cyclone, and he could drink a river dry every 15 minutes.
Yea, Babe, your bright blue ox, coat like silk and voice like thunder. Who made an ox like you, I wonder? Yea, Babe, haul away the lumber. Yea, Babe, your bright blue ox. Yea, Babe, your bright blue ox.
Babe could pull anything that had an end on it, and he always dragged the cookhouse, the bunkhouse, and all the other camp buildings when Paul's crew moved to a new job. Of course, Babe always snaked the logs to the river before the spring drive, and Paul used him for special jobs like moving hills and such. Old Paul could never have invented the logging industry without Babe, the blue ox.
Talk about your big men, brave and strong. Talk about 'em long and tall. Never was a big man could stand beside old Paul.
At first, Paul and Babe did all the logging by themselves, but as Paul's plans grew more stupendous, he needed some help. So he brought in his famous loggers, a heroic breed of men whom Paul inspired to prodigious deeds. At one time, Paul had 1 million loggers working for him.
Roll out your rugged loggers, caulk your boots and stag your trousers, swing that axe and trim that timber, tread those logs and roll them down the river. Roll out your rugged loggers, roll out your logging men.
The cookhouse alone covered 50 acres, and the dining hall was manned by waiters on roller skates. Paul had a sawmill 1 mile high, and it had a special smokestack with hinges to let the clouds go by. The loggers loved old Paul, and he took real good care of them.
Paul Bunyan was a big man, biggest of them all. They'd never made him big enough to stand beside old Paul.